And I forgot to hit the button. I was doing so good with all the buttons, and then that happened. Thank you for joining us on Taking Over. I am Ed Fries Ol'Ed, and I am joined by my tag team partner, the one and only, the natural, Astrid Pizarro. And we are racing like NXT was tonight, because we had one match going into the card, and now we've got 6. It's like NXT was like, hey, Spring Breakin's next week, and
Is it? Is it next week?
we don't. Yeah, it's next week. But they didn't realize that when they booked one match last week, so they decided to book everything this week. So we're racing to Spring Breakin. That being said, this was a very, hey, we got to get everything in for next week's show, that really just kept going where it was going. Nothing on this show felt out of place. Nothing on this show felt like it was shoved in there just to get a match for next week. Everything hit the beats of the weeks before. And that's the difference between NXT and other programming. Other programs, when they realize, oh crap, we have to build a pay-per-view, let's throw together some matches. NXT's like, well, we've got these guys fighting, we can do that. Hey, we sent Braun Breaker into a thing with Chase University last week, we'll make that a match. Hey, we've got women, we can put them in wrestling matches.
There's women in here.
There's technically 2 women's matches on a 6-match card, which isn't bad considering it's a 6-match card. We've technically, if you count the mixed tag, got 2.
No, there's I was gonna say that's 3 then.
Triple threat. Oh, Lyra and Cora. That's 3. Half the show features women.
Yeah.
NXT, changing boundaries. But nothing felt like it was forced into the show. All of these segments felt like they belonged. And the matches feel just like they should. And we're going to go ahead and give our predictions for Spring Breaking next week, as we're going to be figuring them out now, because I don't think we've thought much about these, because 5 of these matches we didn't know, and the only one we both know is the only one we both know who's going to win. That being said, I want everybody else to give us their thoughts on this, as we've got our friend Chris Parrish in the comments. Hello, Mr. Parrish. Me and you are going to be very busy next week, and we will get to that later in the show. That's what they call it, tease. Speaking of teases, we got teased with this triple threat tag team match to open the show. And man, was this fun. It wasn't great wrestling, but man, was it fun to watch. I think I keep saying that when I talk about Gallus. Yeah. They don't put on 5-star classics. They don't have slobber knockers. But they get in there and chaos ensues. But I'm enthralled watching the chaos. What did you think watching the Dyad versus the Creeds? And were you able to keep your eyes off Julius for very long to watch the rest of the match?
Yes, I looked at everybody else too. No, I feel like it reminded me a lot of like the way that Impact opens with the X division, because it's just really fast paced, even with Gallus in there. And I feel like I like the speed and the pacing of it in itself that we had in the match. So I feel like it was a good opener. And I'm glad, I mean, at least from what I saw, because I tuned there a little bit late, all 3 teams were there at the same time, which is what I love about these kind of matches. I like it when it's like there's one from every team. I don't like it when it's just a regular tag team match and you're gonna tag in somebody from the opposite team and that, BS. I don't like that. So I'm glad that in here we got one of each team involved in the match in some way, shape, or form. Definitely my favorite part of this match. I feel like there was barely any time between them not being somebody else in the ring in there too. So that's why I love more about this match, that we had a lot of action going on from beginning to end. But yeah, I feel like it was a lot going on at the same time. I couldn't even take notes of what was going on. But I feel like overall, I like the pace of it that we had in this match.
Yeah, everything in this match felt cool. It felt great. I love how NXT does this, and they've done it over and over and over again. When they have these triple threats where everybody's in the ring. And yeah, there were portions of this where people were down and not doing anything. But it wasn't like they were sitting on the outside not doing anything until the very end. But you have this great moment. Yeah, Barry says the same thing. I feel the same. Pointless having 3 teams while only 2 of them are in the ring. And more to that, all 3 are interacting with each other. Throughout the picture-in-picture first ad break, you had Gallus and the Dyad teaming up against Julius Creed. There were moments in this match later on where you had the same thing, where you had the heels teaming up against the babyface. Makes sense. The heels are like, we can work together until we can't. And then you had the Dyad pulling out Gallus on one side, and the Creeds pulling out Gallus on the other side. And you had both of them take out one Gallus member, and then they both got up in the ring, and they were like, well, we don't need them to win the titles. We'll just beat up each other. And that was the moment, one, where I knew Gallus was winning. Because Gallus got taken out of the match to have their break so that they could just come back and win the titles. But again, convenience. The one thing we have seen with the story of the Diamond Mine, since the Diamond Mine, is the Creeds don't know how to focus. Like me. They don't focus.
Squirrel!
No, the squirrel's name is Ivy Nile. And it's always your man Julius who gets distracted. Ivy Nile gets knocked down by the Dyad. I think it was Rip on the outside. It was one of the guys from GYV. He accidentally knocks her down. She falls on the ground. Julius hits the move. They're about to win the match. And for some reason, Julius just beelines it outside. She's fine. She rolled her ankle. She's on the ground. Ava's looking after her. She's fine. 4 roots, 1 tree. Ava's doing perfectly fine, just keeping an eye on Ivy Nile. And she honestly was. Like, if you watch it, she's not, like, holding her down and being mean. She's legitimately checking on Ivy to make sure she's okay. But both Creeds proceed to be distracted. Gallus hits the finish. Still wish they had they're big burly dudes and they have this really dumb finish. They just need something more powerful. But they get the 1, 2, 3. Gallus boys on top. They are still your NXT Tag Team Champions. Again, it's not going to go down in Dave's record books as a 7-star match like FTR. It's not. It didn't happen in the Tokyo Dome. It'll never happen in the Tokyo Dome. It'll only ever get 4.5 stars because it's a WWE show. But it was fun. I was sports entertained. I was thoroughly sports entertained. Do you think this is the last that we see of the Dyad?
I don't know. I know that Gallus is gonna win. Obviously, like you said during that break, but at the same time, I kept thinking in my mind, it would have been so interesting if the Dyad would have won this match, like right here. Right. Like that was my thought process. It was like I forgot. It was like I think 2 moments, if I'm not mistaken, during the match when Gallus was out of the ring, and I kept thinking like it would have been so nice if somebody from Dyad swooped in and just won the titles right here. I'd be like, that would be such a shocker right now. Even though I knew Gallus was winning, even in my mind, but I was like, sure, this would have been like a good twist of it happened though. Like it really would have been. And I kept thinking about that during this match, and I couldn't like get it out of my mind.
Halfway through the match is this great moment where all 6 guys are in the ring and they're all like fighting each other and they're doing that like finish or spam thing. And one of the guys from the Dyad hits a super kick on the Gallus guy and then gets hit with something from Julius, and Julius goes to the other side of the ring. And the guy just falls on top of Wolfgang. And the referee's totally distracted, and it could have been a 3. And I thought right there, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, they're going to give the titles to the Dyad just to see the internet explode. Like, it'll be a 1-week thing. They'll lose them next week. But just to see the internet explode this week with everybody saying, the Dyad's gone. The Dyad has their releases. If they go, they went out on top. Good for them. I'm excited to see what GYV can do. And by the way, they were featured. Like, it wasn't like that they were in there to take the pinfall. They didn't even lose the match, which is what I thought they were there for. So if they're on their way out the door, they got massive respect by not having to take the pin and being spotlighted the entire match, with the exception of the moments where you need the babyface sparkle.
Mm-hmm.
But absolutely killer opener. Unfortunately, we then cut backstage to Dijak walking in a parking lot. And I immediately thought, he's getting attacked. We had 2 parking lot spots and nobody got attacked. Yep. I was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
NXT trying to up those numbers for trying to make the parking lot safer. He's saying nonsense about potentially being drafted. He's not being drafted. He's talking about Ilya Dragunov. I'm excited to see him versus Ilya. It sounds like, based on the way the card's shaped up for next week, it doesn't look like it's happening next week. So I think I'm going to see it in Lowell. Dijak's from the area. He is a local boy. It will be 2 local boys potentially on that show then. And I get to see Ilya Dragunov for the first time live. And I am praying he is on that show. There's a couple people that I have a wish list for on this show that I'm like, come on, just make the storylines work a little bit longer so that I can see them on TV. Because my God, there's a couple of them I'm dying to see live. But again, nonsense. He ends up getting bumped into by Apollo Crews. They set up a match. And I'm like, that'll be fun. I didn't think anything more because that's all I could think about it. We get a Nomo. It's a Noam Dar promo. It's now called a Nomo. It's a Noam promo, a Nomo. Mm-hmm. Noam Dar gets a promo. It's bits and pieces from last week's promo cut together, ready for his debut. But first, oh boy. Now, I am all in favor of people getting opportunity to do something different. I am all in favor of putting Nathan Frazier on television because I think he's great. However, I don't even think you, as a very big Nathan Frazier fan, can talk positively about hard-hitting truths with Nation Frazier. Astrid, do you want to talk about the television? So, for those who didn't watch the show, first, why didn't you watch NXT? You should be. Secondly, he has a segment like he's a sportscaster doing an editorial on a morning talk show. Like he's got the fake desk and the fake background and he's just sitting there with his cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, this is all bad. What did you think?
Coming from a journalism major, this was an epic fail. Oh my God. I love him and how he wrestles. But it's just like, that doesn't mean I wanted him talking though. I really didn't. And like, this was so cringy. It's like, do I really have to take notes on this?
So here's the thing.
I didn't want to watch it though.
I didn't hate him. I thought he was actually
he was fine. Good. It just doesn't fit him though. Like the overall like segment doesn't fit him or his character. So just like, I don't want to watch it. And it's like he talks great. Like it's not his talking.
His promo here is fantastic.
Look. Yeah,
his promo here is fantastic.
I don't want to say
setting.
Look aesthetic. I guess
setting. No. For this one, I'm going to use the word setting. The setting is all wrong, and I think that was the point. I have a feeling the point was for this to be bad. This is supposed to be so bad it's good. And I think it was. Because this was awful. But I did take, believe it or not, a few notes on this. If you're down and you're losing, like I've been losing matches since I came back after the Halloween Havoc match where I got hurt. I've come back and I've only lost matches. I've lost to Wesley. I lost to Dragon Lee. I lost this match. I lost that match. And if a few other of you are losing in the back too, I have the answer. Speed. Never slow down. If you run fast and you keep doing things, you can go ahead and distract yourself long enough that whatever bad thing is chasing you will never catch you. To which I can say, for those of you going through a bad time, that is the worst, absolute worst thing you can do is run away from your problems. Please get help. Do not run away as fast as you can. So Bad It Was Good. He was fantastic here. The rest of this is all bad, but he shined here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping we get more different dumb things from him going forward to the point where because I think this is all leading to a heel turn. And I want the crowd to boo him during these things that he tries to the point where he turns on the crowd. And I think that's how you turn Nathan Frazier. Because I don't think you can have him attack somebody and have people go, boo. I think you need them to authentically dislike him. Mm-hmm. And the only way you make this wonderful, talented athlete dislikable is by making him really annoying.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling we're seeing a lot more bad before we get any good. But unlike Cora Jade, he was a delight in this segment.
Yeah. I like also the part he says, we're all quality here or we wouldn't be here. And I'm like, I think there's some people that shouldn't be on this list, but okay.
Have you met
We'll
Lash Legend?
Later.
Have you met Lash Legend? She was on last year's. By the way, I looked at last year's Spring Break card. My God, are we a long way from where we were last year? We have Noam Dar versus Miles Bourne. Again, for those of you who don't remember, Miles Bourne is a deaf wrestler who killed it again tonight, showcased. But let's talk about who we need to talk about. Noam Dar is fantastic. This guy was hidden away on 205 Live. We make fun of him for Foxy. Alicia Fox. But this dude is fantastic. He is so good in the ring. I love watching him wrestle. This was absolutely fantastic. And the North American division in this Heritage Cup are going to be picture perfect for this dude for the next year or so. What did you think?
Yeah, I just keep thinking not only him, but every time I see Miles, I get more impressed. Just thinking like this guy's definitely look at the way he's performing. So it's incredible every time I see him. And like whenever he has a match, like my eyes go to him. And it happened before, with Eddie, and it happened now with Noam too. It's like I keep thinking it's incredible not only from Miles' aspect, but like the person against him in that match. To work with him in that aspect is pretty incredible. Like more than anything, that's what goes through my mind when I see these matches. Again, I just thought this was a way to like showcase Noam Dar for anybody that didn't know about him. It was just a way to like showcase him. So I expected him to win. I expected him to have more of a better performance than Miles did in that aspect. So I was not expecting any lesson from him in the match in itself. But yeah, I think it was pretty good in itself. I like the match.
Yeah, Miles is fantastic, and he's going to be a great talent once they figure out what they're going to do with him going forward. But as a talent here to be enhancing talent, he's enhancing the people he's in the ring with. He looks great, and he doesn't detract from the match. He actually adds to it. And being deaf only makes it that much more entertaining and that much more of a spectacle to see him doing as well as he does in all these matches.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that half this show is going to me going, because for everything good on this show, there's a segment that makes me go, oh, I hated this. All right, we're going to call this Teen Drama segment number 1. Josh Briggs comes busting into Kiana James's office, trying to get Kiana to go ahead and talk to Brooks, to get Brooks to talk to Briggs, because Briggs wants to figure out what the hell's wrong with Brooks. She says no. She runs down why she shouldn't, and she's right. And it's never good when your heel's the ones who are acting appropriate. And then she says, well, why don't you just ask him yourself? And in walks Brooks Jensen. Mr. Brooks Jensen, I'm going to start calling him. He's a clean-faced. He's got a shitty fucking mustache. Sorry for the swearing. He's got a shitty mustache. He's got his hair tied back in a mini Brock Lesnar man bun, I believe. I think. And he had glasses. For some godforsaken unknown reason, he had glasses on that he didn't need. Coming from two people who wear glasses, if you don't need them, why are you bothering to wear them?
No. If I could wake up and not need them, that would be lovely.
He then says that he's tired of being treated like a kid, to which Briggs says, we treated you like a brother. And he says, a little brother, but Kiana treats me like a man. I had so many more thoughts about that, but I'm going to leave them there because I know what kind of man he's being treated like, and I have a feeling Paul Heyman, because Barry Monkey says this is better than the Bloodline story. Oh, the drama! I have a feeling Paul Heyman's writing this storyline, because for anybody who remembers Monday Night Raw, early pandemic, before pandemic, when Heyman was in charge. There was a certain storyline that Heyman wanted to get across on television. And he tried to do it with Mike Bennett, and then Mike Bennett got fired. And he tried to do it with Rusev, and Rusev said, screw you. We're not going to say the word, but if you go watch Raw from those times and periods, you'll figure out what the word is. Brooks Jensen is that person. Do you have any thoughts, or can I just keep moving?
I thought you were talking about the Roxanne promos, and I was gonna start crying here.
No, I didn't write that down because I honestly missed it. It didn't seem like there was anything important in it. Was there anything important in the Roxanne promo?
No, I have it in that order, and I kept thinking, oh no, he's talking about the Roxanne promo.
No, I had problems with my Hulu broadcast, and every time I tried to skip through the end of the Noam Dar match, I kept going to a new app. And I just said, screw it, I'm just going to watch it where it is. And I saw that there was a Roxanne segment, but it lasted, from what I could see, all of about 30 seconds. So I just skipped it, thinking nothing happened.
Yeah, the two things that she said was she told Zoe, because it was a Zoe in her video package, she said, character triumphs over talent. And I'm like, okay. And then she mentioned Tiffany. She's like, if I have to go through you to get my title, that's what I'm going to do. So it was very simple in that aspect. So I was like, oh no, I was like, why did Roxanne do that? He hates it so much. No, but the only thing that I also understood from this is that when Josh goes to Kiana, he goes, I helped you out when the Valentine's Day date happened thing. And I was like, he's right though. I feel like they both have helped each other and haven't even noticed it in that aspect until now that they're bringing it back to each other in each other's faces. I just never thought I would see Brooks dressed up like where he was. It's like, oh gosh. And then I keep thinking back, it's like, how long have we been watching this? And now it's just finally we get something else, progress in a way that we were asking for, a little bit of progress. And I was like, we've been watching this one for over a year now. It's like, can this be the end of it? And I'm glad that, I told you, it was another thing that I kept thinking about when they announced later the mixed tag match. Is please just be this match, be the end of it. Just please, that's all I want. But I know it's not going to be the end of it.
It won't.
Yeah.
We then had Mackenzie Mitchell backstage. I'm sorry. No. I'm skipping a segment. I skipped an entire segment there. Not that you're going to miss much if you skip this segment. We had Odyssey Jones coming out to get ready for a match. I have no idea who he was going to face, because as soon as he got in the ring, he got absolutely brutally speared by Big Bad Booty Braun, who's now channeling not only his uncle, Scott Steiner, but based on half this promo, he's decided to go ahead and just outwardly support his father, who's a dirtbag, because I started feeling like that's where they're taking his character. And I got very worried for about 30 seconds in there when he called the fans rednecks. We're in Florida. Most rednecks are in northern Florida, not southern Florida, where Orlando is at.
Or Central Florida, yeah.
But we'll digress.
No. Yep.
But he started saying some other things that started making me worried, like they were going to take him down this like militant Republican type character. And I'm like, oh God, did his father get in his head and just decide to make him say all the things that his father believes on TV? I really thought this where we were headed. I thought we were going to have to cancel Braun Breaker. I know somebody over at another place that would have been very disappointed if that were the case. He would have thought it would be unneat. But Braun gets interrupted by the MVP, Duke Hudson, in the crowd. And they go back and forth, and Duke is really, really bad in this entire thing. I didn't like Duke in this. I don't know if you thought better of it. I didn't like Duke in this. Duke makes a match that I thought was going to be, and so did Braun, that was going to be Duke Hudson versus Braun Breaker next week.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's going to be Duke Hudson versus Andre Chase. Poor Andre Chase.
No, wait. I was going to say, isn't it Braun Breaker and Andre Chase?
Yeah, what did I say? Duke Hudson versus Andre Chase?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Wait, you scared me.
I mean, this about says it all about what Braun's promo was. Braun will make NXT great again. Yeah, this was... I like the character development that Braun Breaker is getting.
Mm-hmm.
However, I dislike everything else about this segment, which is sad because everything else about this segment is about Chase U. But Braun does say that next week he is going to end Andre Chase and end Chase U. What did you think of this match? Or segment?
I did like having Duke coming in from the crowd, especially when the Chase U section is. I love that aspect of it, but at the same time, I hate it because they're all wearing the red shirts. I couldn't tell who he was up until like towards the end of it when I'm like, oh, you're in the corner. Okay, now I can finally see you. But yeah, it's like I was thinking more like, oh, this is gonna be Duke versus Braun because of what happened last week. And then when he goes, oh no, just you and Andre, I'm like, what? This is not anything what I expected it to be at all. I did laugh though when Braun interrupted him, and then Duke goes, "Oh, the dude thought I was done." Like he literally says that on the mic. It made me laugh though because it wasn't something that I expected him to say in the microphone. But yeah, just like I love the part when Braun tells him, "You took off running quicker than I ever seen you run," and I was like, "Well, that is very true." But yeah, I thought it was funny the way that Braun replied back to him though during this.
Yeah, I like Braun heel. I like the attitude. I don't like the words that were coming out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
We've NXT. We have to work on making sure that Road Dogg's not writing Braun's stuff, because if Road Dogg's writing it, we're going to get militant Republican, because that's what Road Dogg is. We have Mackenzie Mitchell backstage with Cora Jade, where she was asked if she regrets anything that she said last week. She starts to say no, that she wishes she would have been able to continue to run down the rest of the roster. To which I'm like, oh my God, thank God Lyra came out. Thank God Lyra came out. Oh my God, if that segment had gone on any longer, I would have had to puke. Thankfully, she's also cut off this week by Gigi Dolan, saying that... I don't know what Gigi was trying to say about this week's promo. Because honestly, the promo started and Ashley sent me a picture because they misspelt Gigi Dolan's last name on television. And that's all I could focus on.
That's all I could think of when I saw it. But no, I think the most thing that, I don't want to say stand up, but it's when she said, oh, this Instagram ass is going to kick your ass later on tonight, or something like along those words of like the Instagram ass line. And that's all I got.
Yeah. The Instagram ass.
Yeah.
But now we get to Roxanne versus Zoe Stark. And but first, Roxanne makes her entrance. By the way, is it just me, or have you noticed that they've tried to make Roxanne a little bit more with the loss of toxic attraction? There's something missing from the NXT women's locker room. A little appeal, should you say. Did Roxanne always enter the ring ass to the camera every time? Because for the last week, since Mandy lost the title, that's the only times I remember it since she beat Mandy. That she starts to the ring, like she gets to the ring, and she stands in front of the ring, and she faces the opposite direction, and just stands there, bum out, and just stands there. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't get
she's
it.
yeah, she's done it before, and I remember the first time she did it, I kept thinking, why are you really doing that though? I was like, are you trying to show off that your gears is prodigy in the back? Because that's the only thing that I could
I
think of, like looking at her gear from top to bottom.
Yeah, like it's just like I said. I don't mind that appeal. Sex appeal is great. Let's be honest. That's what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But it needs to be in the right places. There's a place for it in wrestling. Like we've said, Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction made sex appeal make sense. Their gimmick made sense with what they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about Roxanne Perez is anti all of that. Her gear is built in a way to discourage it. It just feels weird that that's part of her. It's almost like she's one of the beautiful people. And she's trying to do the bend over spot that Velvet Sky used to do. Like, there's a time and a place for this kind of stuff. And it feels awkward coming from Roxanne Perez.
Yeah.
We get Pretty Deadly backstage talking about Tony D'Angelo and Stax. And they go ahead and make it that they're going to have an anything goes match, or so we think, based on what they were talking about. We get back to the match, and it's going to be Roxanne versus Zoe. And I'm going to let Astrid take over for this, as I have to go do something for a
moment. For Roxanne versus Zoe, I really enjoy this match more than anything because it was a good back and forth between both of the ladies. I like how we started with like Zoe taking control of the match, and like it feels like basically like halfway through that Roxanne kind of takes over. I love having more than anything those little parts of like she's like really fired up and she's really unloading on Zoe. So like she has those parts where she does the dive to the outside and she comes back and she's like all fired up. And when she starts unloading on her, I think she looks kind of funny at first, with like the way she's slinging her arms. But at the same time, I like having that part where she's like, I'm fired up. This is the moment that I'm taking the match. I also like the part of like towards the end, Roxanne has a crossbody from the top, and Zoe just grabs her and does a roll through. And I kept thinking maybe in that moment she was gonna win, but at the same time I like how they ended up with Roxanne having the pop rocks in the corner, the way she did it, and then having her win. And in that moment, I didn't think she was gonna win the way she was setting up the pin with Zoe there, but she gets the 1, 2, 3, and she comes out. She's about to say something when Indy comes out like right away, and Indy tells her, "Look, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be champion right now." I like that aspect of her saying it that way of like, if it wasn't for you giving up the title, I wouldn't be champion. I would have been a part of that ladder match. And she's like, "Okay, we'll have a rematch at Spring Breakin next week." And Roxanne obviously accepts, knowing that she didn't lose her title like most people do. And just when they're shaking hands, we get Tiffany coming out, and Tiffany says like, "How is it that there's a second person now getting a title shot before I do?" So I think the way she said it was also very interesting. It's like kind of like two people lining up in front of me, and to me at least, Roxanne does have a right to get that rematch versus Zoe getting that match. But and then Indy looks at her and they have back and forth, and she goes, "Well, and then I like that part of Tiffany being, I was like, oh, these are just beatable people." And then Roxanne just tells her, "Well, you didn't beat me when you're in the breakout tournament, so I'm not that beatable if you think about it." And Indy's like, "Well, I'm gonna do it and just have a challenge of like not only one but two of you." So that's why she says that for Spring Break, and we get Indy versus Roxanne versus Tiffany, a 3-way for the NXT Women's Championship. I think it'll be very interesting to see what route they go from here, because they do have, obviously, having the third person, the possibility of having somebody like Tiffany lose without getting pinned, or we can have Indy lose the title just a few weeks after gaining it. So I think it'll be interesting to see going forward who they focus on when it comes to the women's division and the NXT Women's Champion. I don't know if I see Roxanne winning it so quickly. I would say after losing it, that's the only thing. But I think it'll be interesting, like who they pick to be the winner of this match for next week. And we got it confirmed, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. So we have the graphic here with the 3 ladies confirmed for next week. And then after this, we had the Racing interview. It just, him with Mackenzie going of like, yeah, I'm gonna have the shoey, and he has a golden shoe. He's getting ready for when he wins next week, and this is his way of doing so. And she's like, "But you lost to Gargano though in the unsanctioned match," and he's like, "It's unsanctioned though, like it doesn't count." So I like that. Even though he lost, he brings it up of like being that it was unsanctioned is not in the record, so it's like his to him he never really lost, and I like seeing that point of view coming from him towards Mackenzie. Just like I never lost though, just that's not on my win loss record at all. So I thought that was interesting of him to point out. And after that, we had Von Wagner and Stone. This is after the match happened last week when Von lost, and they're just having a back and forth. And he's like, "Well, I'm Von Wagner, and I was born to do this." So he like reintroduces himself to Stone, and yeah, it looks like they kind of stick together after this. Did you watch that part with Von and Stone?
I did. It was nice to hear a Beverly Brothers reference. For those of you who don't remember, the Beverly Brothers are a tag team from way back in New Generation era and probably before that in WWE. And as we've known, Von Wagner's dad was one of the Beverly Brothers. WWE wrestler from a while ago. So it's nice to see them tying in this. I don't love that they're still together after what happened last week, but I love that Robert Stone is bringing us something from Von Wagner besides Come Tuesday. He's more than a meme now. We'll see what goes on from here. I'm excited to see what happens. We have Gigi versus Cora Jade. I'm a very big proponent of women's wrestling, but this match, I kind of wish they just would have let the girls keep wrestling. Hey, that's not nice. I wish I would have let the girls keep wrestling and have their own match without having JC Jane be here. Because I was kind of getting into this match. And then it was over.
Yeah.
Gigi Dolan throws JC Jane into Booker T. Poor Booker T. And I saw somebody on Twitter go, why did they keep throwing people into Booker? Because he's a trained professional and Vic Joseph is too fragile to have people thrown into him week after week. Booker T's much more stable. He'll be okay. But yeah, the match was just getting good. JC Jane comes out and comes on the apron. Gigi Dolan gets the better of Cora Jade there. Gets the better of JC Jane. Goes back in the ring. Eats a finisher from Cora Jade. And the generation of Jade will continue. After the match, Gigi Dolan rushes up to get JC Jane. And Lyra Valkyria, thank God. Never thought I'd be saying thank God for Lyra Valkyria.
Yeah.
Lyra Valkyria comes out to cut off Cora Jade from speaking again. And we get the match made for next week. And that match is right here. Lyra Valkyria versus Cora Jade next week. What did you think of the second straight women's match in a row here on the show?
Yeah, I felt the same way you did. I feel like just when I was getting into it, I was enjoying how it was going. It got interrupted by Jason. When I saw her, I was like, no, why is this happening? At least I'm glad it didn't end in a DQ, or like having JC come in and cause that DQ for Gigi. I prefer having like Gigi had the like upper hand in that sense of like her like throwing the knees to her face and throwing her against the steel steps and throwing her towards Booker and then going back into the ring like nothing happened. I like that part of it, but at the same time, like you said, just like feel just like it started, it was over, and I was just getting into it, which I didn't like that part of it. They also had a TikTok, I think it was a video. I don't know what I thought it was an NXT Anonymous kind of video with like Danny Palmer and Soruka and then
I had that
Hank
later.
and Hank. I was
had
thinking that was an anonymous video, but it really wasn't. So that was I just want to point that out because I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I know that happens later on. I think it does. Oh no, it was. Yeah, it was in between. So we got Gigi coming out, and then but first we had Axiom and Scripps nonsense, where Axiom did a Scripps promo, which made me hate Axiom just as much as I hate Scripps. So it's not just that Scripps is bad; it's the whole idea of the promo that they're doing, because it made Axiom feel like an ass. And the literal notes, word for word notes for the TikTok segment was Tank, Danny, etc. Blah blah.
I was thinking Tank and Hank.
Yeah, Tank, Hank, Sol Ruka, Danny Palmer. Apparently, Danny Palmer is going to be debuting sometime in the near future, and I'm like, great, don't care. She's already debuted twice.
Yeah.
We get an Eddie Thorpe interview. It was really good. I didn't know what to expect because I've never heard him speak.
Yeah, me neither.
So I wasn't sure what to expect considering he's coming from New Japan. But this was really, really good. He had a really good in-depth promo where he talks about how he's been around the world not only to get better, but to learn from everybody else and to gain knowledge, to bring pride to himself, to his family, and to his tribe. He starts talking about Native Americans and how they're stereotyped, and I'm like, good. I'm glad they didn't do the Tatanka thing here because that would have been bad. And then Damon Kemp comes up and he says, I'm impressed. I've been watching you from afar. I watched you afar in this promo. You did good. I watched you last week. You impressed me. And he walked away, and I'm like...
He's like, no, I watched you last week, kid. And I like how Eddie goes, kid. But like, he does it very like low when he says it.
Yeah, Barry, something. I watched Roxanne and Starks having a good match, and I thought it only highlighted how bloody awful Cora and Gigi are. Now, in their defense, Roxanne and Zoe Stark are main roster ready now. Like, I wouldn't put Roxanne on the main roster. I think that there's plenty that she can do in NXT still. But she's basically main roster ready. Zoe Stark is, I'm almost guaranteed, going up to the main roster in the draft next week. I'm almost certain of it, that she's going up to the main roster. She is main roster ready. She has no character, but her talent is main roster ready and she's good to go. Cora Jade and Gigi Dolan. Cora Jade is still, I want to say, under 23. Is immensely talented with potential, but that injury didn't help her, and the fact that the division took a huge leap forward while she was gone really didn't help either. As far as Gigi Dolan is concerned, she's incredibly talented in the ring, but she needs the right in-ring partner to shine the way she needs to shine. And unfortunately, that's the life of a lot of these indie wrestlers, especially the indie females, is they so often work the same people, or more often, they work men, that they don't know how to work against women, and they look worse than they are when they do it. But if you go ahead and watch any of Gigi Dolan's prior matches as Priscilla Kelly, except that one match from WrestleMania weekend, that one time, trust me, you'll know what match it is when you search the match and you find out what's... Yeah. If you don't watch that match from that WrestleMania weekend, she has a lot of really good stuff. And she's ultra talented. They weren't given the spotlight that Roxanne and Zoe Starks were tonight. And that's another point to hold in that saying. You can't have a 5-minute match that's about telling a story and compare it to the 15-minute match that Zoe Stark and Roxanne were allowed to give you, because the match was the story. You know, it's one of those things where I think that there's a big difference between one and the other. Yeah, Parrish, that's exactly the match that we're talking about. We then got Dijak versus Apollo Crews. Well, Dijak came out first. But first, Team Drama segment number 2. We have Fallon Henley and Briggs at the bar, talking and being all sad that their buddy, who they didn't like and didn't really feel like paying attention to, and were pretty awful to, they were mad that their buddy doesn't want to be their friend anymore. And then Kiana and Brooks come walking into the bar. Oh, sorry, Mr. Brooks come walking into the bar, and Mr. Brooks swipes his finger across the thing and goes, "Oh, dirty." And he says, "Well, what can we get you to drink?" And they say, "Oh, no, we're not here to drink. We're here to challenge you for a match." And I'm like, okay. I mean, I want this to be the end. I really, really want this to be the end. But it's not. It's not gonna be. I'm gonna be sad. Any thoughts on Team Drama number 2?
No, can it be over already?
We have Dijak defeating Apollo Crews in a pretty decent back and forth match. Nothing spectacular, nothing fantastic. It's a decent television match. Apollo Crews, by the way, has been having great, like, just really good, solid wrestling matches ever since he came to NXT. And I'm excited to see post-draft who comes down next to NXT when they resort the rosters and figure out what's going on there. Because I have a feeling there's a couple people that I have my eye on that I'd love to see come down and make a statement and have some matches with some people. I think there's a lot of good potential there. But Dijak gets the win, and he continues to beat down on Apollo Crews, which brings out Ilya Dragunov, who gives him a headbutt, and they get separated by referees. What did you think of Apollo Crews versus Dijak?
Yeah, the match was better than I thought it would be. I like the action they had though in this match. Yeah, I just when I kept thinking about it when the way they announced it earlier, the way it happened, like it was booked. I was thinking, this is gonna be all right. It's gonna get interrupted too, like not even 5 minutes into it. But I'm glad it really wasn't. I'm glad that the part with Dragunov wait until like the match is over, and we were able to focus on the match. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, I thought it was really classic. It was a decent match. Dijak looks like he's headed to Battlegrounds with Ilya Dragunov. I can't wait to see how they do this Ilya Dragunov match, whether it gets blown off on NXT TV. Please, please don't do that, NXT. Please, please don't do that, NXT. I want to see these guys. Please don't do that. But it was fun. We then get parking lot segment where nobody gets attacked, number 2. Where JC Jane has come stumbling out of the backstage area like she's been drinking all night. She didn't get beat up that badly. I don't understand why she was so stumbly. She tells us a story that Gigi Dolan and this wonderful woman who took over of taking care of her brother and, you know, making sure to keep him away from her mother, that while yes, some of that is true, at the age of 17, that same Gigi Dolan left home to go pursue a career in wrestling and left her 7-year-old brother alone with that said alcoholic mother that supposedly abused them. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this. This is sad. Gigi Dolan, I'm sorry, JC Jane here killed it. She was fantastic. Just spitting out these little bits of this story. It didn't quite make sense. I think if you put it all together, it makes a whole lot more sense. But I love that it's the ramblings of a woman who's been attacked, who doesn't know what she's really saying, but knows what she wants to do. She wants to hurt Gigi. And the best way she can hurt Gigi is by attacking her credibility. You want to be nice to the fans. You want to tell them that you're this terrible, abused person who, had all these terrible things happen to you. You left him. You left your little brother at home with that woman. You ran away. And you went to make a career for yourself. To be the indie star. To make it on your own. To come here to NXT, and you left him. And next week, I'm going to beat you so bad that you're going to run away from NXT the way you ran away from your brother and your mother. And she got in her car and she drove away.
She survived the parking lot.
a fucking plus segment here. JC Jane proved right here. Remember how I've been harsh on JC Jane, saying that she didn't come across, personable. This felt real. Again, it's two really good friends. And you always get this with two really good friends, that eventually you get to that moment where they know what they're going to do and they know the story they're telling. And they can really dive into it and really get their teeth to sink in. This was JC's first teeth sunk in moment since we've had that Gigi Dolan storyline start to develop. As the expert on women's wrestling for taking over in our local establishment, what did you think of not only this segment, but the storyline so far with the two of them, and the women's segments in all? Because this is going to be the end of our women's segments for the night.
Yeah, I'm glad that she finally said something about about Gigi's life and her story, because we heard it before from Gigi saying JC knows how to take me down. JC knows what to say about me because JC knows my secrets and JC knows about my life. But we haven't had JC say anything about Gigi's life to make Gigi say that. So I kind of wonders like what does she really know though, because she hasn't really said anything yet. And like we haven't had that back and forth of like, hey, I'm gonna talk about Gigi's life and Gigi responds. It's always Gigi's like, oh, she knows about me, but she doesn't say what though. So I've been curious what she will like reveal. So I like that this aspect that she came on and she's like, I'm gonna say something about like she hasn't said because she's been hiding it from you guys and kind of giving you that other side of the coins, as we say. So I think this was super interesting to think about. Like finally, she says something about Gigi's life that she knows and nobody else knew but her and Gigi. I was like, finally, we get that aspect of like, yeah, this is how we really can tell that we know each other and that we were best friends. It's like, I have something from her life that nobody else does, but I'm going to share with you now. And I'm very glad because I know that JC isn't very consistent with her promos. And I know that most of the time she sounds very confident, and I like how she sounded confident during this too. Like the confidence, just like this is it. It helped the delivery even more during this, and it just I'm like this is exactly all we need from her every single time. Not the one where people were barely reacting to her as they were. So I'm like, this is what we need every single time you do a promo because it was very well done. Um, Overall, I like how they're progressing with the storyline. Finally, in that aspect of like we get a good back and forth. I want to see though, now that we finally get JC revealing something about Gigi's life, I would like to see the same thing happening from the other side. I would like to Gigi say something about JC's life and like have that kind of back and forth of like, you know me, but I know you too. Don't forget that like we share time together and like we're best friends or we were best friends. So we know about each other's lives. So I would like to see a little bit more about that. But it's really nice to finally get that, like, I feel like to the root of everything of like, we know each other and like we're showing it here. But yeah, overall, I like the progress they made with the storyline tonight, with her saying that and her still attacking her. But I wasn't sure. It was like I thought this was gonna end up being on the card for next week, but I hadn't seen it for next week, so I'm hoping it will for the week after, or like for your battleground, maybe we'll see. But
Give
either
me
way, I'm
last
excited.
give me last woman standing in Lowell. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where you're headed. The way that this storyline has gone, it almost seems like it has to head to last woman standing match. And I think when this match happens, I think this is the last we see of Gigi Dolan. I would not be surprised at all if, with the stories coming out, that there's a couple of ladies that Vince McMahon has seen and gone, ooh, I like her. She could be something we could do something with. I think Gigi Dolan, as we've heard, is on that list. I wouldn't be surprised if Gigi Dolan gets drafted. And I wouldn't be surprised if she stays down there just long enough to finish out this story. And I say you finish it out at Battlegrounds, last woman standing, loser leaves town, and JC Jane goes ahead and defeats Gigi Dolan at Battlegrounds. It may happen sooner. They may blow this off in a week or two, which I think would be a disappointment. I really do. I think it would be a bad idea to blow it off that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We get the North American title match main event. It's the main event match of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it lived up to the hype. Wesley versus Charlie Dempsey. Definitely a clash of styles. Wesley has had better matches because I don't think the ground and pound, grind you down Charlie Dempsey isn't the most entertaining match in the world to me. I'm not a technical specialist. I don't fall in love with watching the guys do the grabs. I like a little bit of everything in my wrestling match. And I don't think him and Wesley had the best chemistry, but I think that they did the best they could with the style differences, and they made the style differences make the match better, while the match wasn't as good. Like you know what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The reason the match was bad was because the reason why they made the match good is because it's a difference of style and it makes Wesley do something different. What did you think of Charlie Dempsey here?
Yeah, I know it wasn't exactly like I'm like used to like the fast paced kind of thing, and having him like slow down Wes that was different for me. But I like the fact that they were able to showcase that they're both different. We have Dempsey being on the mat and being more controlling of Wes and slowing him down versus Wes wanted like make up the speed that he's known for, and you see that contrast between them, and I like seeing that on in the match in itself. But like you said, it's like at the same time, you just that clash of like I'm used to like the North American kind of championship matches are always fast paced in a way. So seeing this, it felt like such a contrast from what we've seen before. So I wasn't used to it. But I love having Wes come in here and try to give us that speed, a little bit of it. Um, but yeah, just like I like having somebody focus on slowing down Wes because usually we have somebody going against him, but they're fast paced as well, so they feel like equals. But we never had anybody like slowing him down in this aspect of like I'm taking you down like this. So I thought that was interesting to think about as with the contracts and styles. But overall, it wasn't a bad match. It just I feel like the styles in itself wasn't working out for them though.
Yeah, I think there's a way to work the slow pace style to break down the high flyer that Dijak has down pat, and I don't think Dempsey's used to it yet. I don't think Charlie Dempsey is used to the way that you break down a talent, the way Dijak does, and that I think is where this match kind of didn't fall apart, but it lessened itself.
Yeah.
I think the better match in this group is the match that I hope we get going forward. It's what I think we're going to get going forward, which is Wesley versus Drew Gulak.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gulak is going to be that little bit better than Dempsey, where we're going to get him be able to work with Wes in a much better way to do the same thing we saw tonight, but better.
Yep.
And it's not a dig on Charlie Dempsey, because Charlie Dempsey's really good at what he does, and he's entertaining with what he does. I like watching a Charlie Dempsey match, but Charlie Dempsey, as of right now, at this stage in his career, needs a particular type of opponent to make that work. The bigger the guy, the better.
Yep.
And Wesley is the opposite of the bigger the guy, the better. Wesley wants the little guy or the really big guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the beatdown after the match with Drew Gulak holding that title up in the air, basically saying that Wes isn't worthy of being champion as he's standing over his prone body. I was thinking, wow, could this be the first time Drew Gulak holds an actual title in WWE? Because I don't think he was ever Cruiserweight champion, was he?
I don't remember really. I didn't pay attention to it that much. But...
Yeah, if you can look up whether or not Drew Gulak was ever actually the 205 Live Cruiserweight champion, I don't believe he ever was.
Well, I see a
I know he's
picture with him in a
24/7
championship. So.
Well, yes, the 24/7 champion doesn't count.
No, with the cruiserweight because it's the purple one.
Oh, okay, so maybe he was the Cruiserweight champion. He might have
Yeah,
been.
it says 24/7 8 times and cruiserweight 1 time.
Okay, so he was a one-time Cruiserweight champion.
Yep.
Barry asked 24/7 champion ? So, the one thing you haven't had to witness, because the title's been thankfully defunct for a few months since Triple H took over, but pre-Triple H in WWE, there was a title called the 24/7 Championship. And it was where the bottom of the barrel of the wrestling world basically rolled each other up for championships, and the title would change hands like 3 times a show. Bad Bunny was a 24/7 champion at one point. A multitude of other celebrities were the champion at one point.
I know there was some anchors too beforehand.
Yeah, there was a guy from Fox Sports Net who was champion. There was a NASCAR driver who was champion. Marshmallow was the champion at one point. Mike Bennett pinned his pregnant wife at a doctor's appointment at one point to become the 24/7 champion. R-Truth used to call it the 24/7 7-Eleven I-95 South Pizza Hut Championship, I think it was, something like that. He kept adding words to the thing every 2 months. R-Truth was gold in this. There was a wonderful time where it was R-Truth and Drake Maverick. That was absolute gold, where this title was so much fun to be on TV. And then it was just all bad for a long, long time. And Drew Gulak was in that picture. But yeah, the 24/7 is not good. It's bad. Yes, this is a picture of Drew Gulak holding, as Ashley just wonderfully put up for me, the 24/7 title. I'm sorry, not the 24/7. This is the Cruiserweight title. By the way, that purple Cruiserweight title, I don't care what people say. It was one of the most beautiful WWE titles they've had in the last 30 years. That thing was fantastic. And I'm sad that the Cruiserweight title's no more, because I really think it's so much prettier than the North American Championship. And I really wish Carmelo Hayes would have gotten rid of the North American title and just made it the Cruiserweight title. Because I think you can have a Cruiserweight division on NXT and treat it like an X division, where it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. And I think you would have been able to do a lot better visually than that god-awful maroon monstrosity that is the North American title. Because that is a hideous, hideous, hideous title. That'll be a show that we do one day where we rank titles from NXT. Because there have been some really good and some really awful championships in NXT. Yeah. But we get the family talking about how they're going to have a trunk match, where the whole point of the match is they're going to have to shove the other team into a trunk. Is there any chance that this isn't a way just to write Pretty Deadly off NXT and that they can get drafted next week?
Hey, why not?
Everybody, Barry especially, say all the wonderful things you can about Pretty Deadly this week, because I think come next week, it's going to be the last time we're going to be talking about them on Tuesday nights. Probably. I have a feeling that they're heading to Friday nights. And by the way, I couldn't be more excited for them. I am so excited for them to get to the main roster. I think Triple H will know exactly what to do with them. I'm afraid of what Vince McMahon's going to do with them. But I think Triple H should make it okay. Before we get to the Waller effect, we have the rundown of the card for next week, which we will be giving predictions for in just a moment, where it is the women's triple threat. Braun versus Andre Chase. Kiana and Brooks versus Fallon and Briggs. Cora versus Lyra. The Family versus Pretty Deadly. And the main event, which will be Mello versus Grayson Waller. And then we get to the Waller effect. And normally these are dumb, and normally I hate them, and normally they do nothing for me. But these two, well, I'm sorry, I'll rephrase that. These three went back and forth really well. I love that Grayson Waller makes Trick Williams as big a part of Carmelo Hayes' act as Carmelo Hayes does.
Yeah.
Grayson Waller starts by saying that this is an unusual Grayson Waller effect, because normally he brings out people he doesn't like on the Waller effect and runs them down and says nasty things. He's like, I can't do that with you, Mello. I like you. Everybody likes you, Mello. Mello's like, well, of course, I'm the A champion. Of course everybody likes me. But they go back and forth, and Mello says no matter how many L's you take, no matter how many losses you get, like a cockroach, you always end up in the main event. And Waller calls himself Main Event Waller. Waller says that he has become as big a star as Carmelo Hayes has in 18 months. And Waller's done it without a championship. And all Melo's had is championships. He goes, Waller is what the championship needs. Waller doesn't need a championship. I thought that was fantastic. Melo says, let's put up the Grayson Waller banners. And Grayson Waller's all excited. And they go ahead and they wave in the banners for the banners to come down. And Trick Williams goes, wah, 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 wah. The international sound of failure. As we find out that Grayson Waller has no accomplishments, as he's accomplished nothing in his 18 months in NXT. To which Grayson Waller says, yeah, but I steal the show every time I get the opportunity. You won the NXT championship, at Stand and Deliver, but Grayson Waller stole the show. The main event started and was finished before your music even played.
Oof.
Waller says to call him the MVP after Waller wins next week. And, no, Waller says for Melo to call MVP to go ahead and carry Omos's bags, as Melo's about as big as Omos's bags. And Melo, without missing a fucking beat, looks at Grayson Waller and goes, you know, Logan Paul's looking for somebody else to go be the mascot in the Prime costume. You'd fit perfectly. to which Grayson Waller, without missing a beat, says, and I'd sell a shit ton of Prime. Oh my God, I kind of wish this build wasn't 2 weeks. I wish this build was longer, because I would love more of these verbal tete-a-tetes between these two guys. Hello, Dar Amazing. Thank you for joining us. Those were a couple of things that I noticed. Did you notice anything else going on during this segment that you wanted to point out?
No, like you said, the part about like calling MVP to carry almost his like bags. He's like, carry his bags so they're the same height. I was like, oh gosh, no. But I like that part of like the way that he points out is like, you have championships and I've been like doing this without championships. I love seeing that aspect. It was like, I'm still like, oh, you still end up being the main event without, you're like sliding your way to the main event. But like they had such a great back and forth. I wish I could like had time to like type everything they said. But I like the way that they responded to each other. Like all three of them, there were like such a great mix in here. I loved having this part of it. When after the match for Dempsey and Wesley ended, I kept thinking, what the heck is the main event then? And I was like, Grayson Waller ends up being the main event again with the Grayson Waller fight, just like that. But no, they had a great back and forth. I loved it.
This is really, like I said, it was great. Trick for so we've called Mello and Trick Mello for a long time. I don't know if we came up with it or if it was something that we saw somewhere.
I think wasn't it Cody when he was doing NXT with us?
It might have been, but
I think it was.
I remember as a collective we latched onto Trick Mello, and I loved hearing Grayson Waller call it the Trick Mello gang. It just it warmed my heart to hear Trick Mello on actual NXT proper. Trick was constantly getting upset and getting up like he was going to fight Grayson Waller. And the crowd was egging him on, and the crowd was cheering for Trick to beat him up. And Mel was like, no, we ain't doing that. We ain't getting into a fight tonight. This was absolutely fantastic. Speaking of things that are fantastic, if you want a pop of energy that's fantastic, you need to go to Rogue Energy and use our promo code OLEPODS to get 10% off your order. Astrid's got of course Astrid at that moment takes a drink of her non-sponsored, non-Rogue Red Bull. But if you want better energy that Astrid doesn't choose to get, go to rogueenergy.com and use the QR code right next to Astrid's hand, and you can go ahead and use that promo code to get 10% off your order with OLE Pods. OLE Pods get you 10% off Rogue Energy. And you know what? Just take my advice. Get the watermelon. You won't be disappointed. It's a fantastic flavor. It's so good. I thoroughly enjoy it. I know Melball enjoys it. I know that Bobby's gotten some in the past. And Parrish always has his next to him so he can go ahead and hop on the Raw Watch Along, or he can be on Turnbuckle Talk, or he can be on all these wonderful programs that OLE has. And speaking of all the wonderful programs that OLE has, we'll be back in just a minute as we show you all the wonderful things that OLE has this week. those are all the wonderful things. And again, we want to go ahead and make sure we shout out Ring Respect Radio this Thursday night. They're having a special guest who's premiering a world premiere music video from up in the Saskatoon area. I believe the video is either called Akimbo or the artist is called Akimbo. I can never tell when they talk about it. Either way, the 420 special will go ahead and be happening on this Thursday. And then after you catch Ring Respect Radio, we're going to go ahead and you can go ahead and catch this lady right here. There we go. That lady right there. Astrid Pizarro, as her and her co-host Cody will go ahead and break down all the things that happened at Rebellion. They're going to break down all of the people Cody met at Rebellion, as he was there, and he's there right now for the tapings. So Cody's going to have all those juicy spoilers that he's not going to be able to share with Astrid, because she's going to make sure that he doesn't share spoilers with him, because she couldn't share spoilers with him when she went into Florida. But Astrid, what else you got going on this week?
I had to think about it for a moment. Like you said, I got making an impact on Thursday. I know we have Ladies Wrestling Showcase on Friday. I'm getting Melbo's insight on the Mercedes Monet match, so I think that will be interesting because I'm gonna try to watch it beforehand, but we'll see. But I think it will be interesting her point of view. I like also getting our thoughts on like the new storyline with Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch, and who knows what else we'll end up talking about as the episode airs. But other than that, everything else is on my YouTube channel. Latest episode of Astrid Asks, and anything past that you have missed is there. I'm gonna be recording a new episode of Astrid Asks, hopefully this month, if I'm not mistaken. So that should be coming soon. If you guys know her, Samira. She's been in the community for quite a while, and she does a lot of announcing and backstage interviewing, and she does her own interviews and vlogs and things like that. So I wanted to get her insight because I know she does a little bit of everything when it comes to wrestling media. So if you know her, if you want to ask her a question, definitely you can send it to me via DM. I would like to get some questions from the community for her there as well. But yeah, I just want to get into her mind when it comes to that. And then after that, back here again Tuesday doing Taking Over with you.
Yes, that's it. Me. I've got a busy week for once. No, I don't really have a busy week. I have a couple things going on. There are some fun things happening, and Chris Parrish, if you're still in the chat, go ahead and make sure you pop in there. You can find me on Twitter at EdFries12584, where I talk about Marvel Snap, where I talk about gaming, where I talk about Funko Pops, where I talk about wrestling and all kinds of fun stuff that I see on Twitter. You can also catch me on Twitch at EdFries2002, where I'll be hopefully, at some point, one of these days, streaming 2K23. I promise. I have it. It's here. We're going to be starting it soon. That being said, this upcoming Monday, before the Raw Watch Along, 7 p.m., you can join myself, Chris Parrish, and Tom Collahue as we do a tri-brand mock draft. Yes, we have a mock draft the week before the draft on Friday. Me, Tom Collahue, and Chris Parrish are going to be going ahead and drafting. I will be defending the honor of NXT. Chris Parrish will, of course, the Raw Watch-Along man, will be doing the Raw team. And Tom Collahue, the man who does SmackDown Watch-Alongs every week on his channel, Tom Collahue on YouTube, will be going ahead and taking the blue brand. Everybody covers what they cover, and they're going to be able to draft for the brand they cover. It just worked so perfectly.
Yeah.
So go ahead and catch us on that. And that is going to lead us great into next Saturday's show, because next Saturday, me and the Chris Parrish will be starting WWE 2K23 Wrestle Draft. Yes, GM mode in 2K23. Me versus Chris Parrish, one-on-one. We'll be doing our live draft in week 1. Live, not this upcoming Saturday, but the Saturday following. We'll be going ahead and doing the draft. We'll be doing our week 1. Going forward for that show, it is going to be so after week 1, the following Saturday, we'll probably have a pre-recorded episode. That'll be weeks 2, 3, and 4. And then every other week, we're going to be doing live episodes that are going to be the premium live events for the 2K23 GM mode. So every other week will be 4 weeks of build, and then the next week will be a live show where we're going to be going ahead and doing our premium live events live with you on the Twitch or on the YouTube. We're not quite sure where it's going to end up yet. But make sure you check all the socials as we are going to do that. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Not a little bit of NXT, but definitely NXT. Yes, Star Amazing will be drafting for main event. And basically taking anybody we don't draft. But no, that's going to be some fun stuff. Me and Parrish have been working on some of this for a little bit. Some of it's a little bit newer. Some of it's something that's been in the works. We've got our own custom GMs for GM mode. We've done some work. I've made some custom GMs. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm very excited for this. It'll be fun to do it with my friend Chris Parrish. That'll be a lot of fun. That being said, the show is not over.
Yes.
In honor of my friend Chris Parrish. Astrid, who comes out of Spring Breaking, the NXT Women's Champion? Is it Roxanne Perez? Is it Indy Hartwell? Or is it Tiffany Stratton?
Oh my word. I'm torn on this one. Very torn still. I'm gonna go and I guess do a wild card for me. I'm gonna pick Tiffany. Wait, Ed. Ed, you're
Sorry,
muted.
I'm muted. I think that's gonna make what I'm about to say very basic. Then I am also going to take Tiffany Stratton. Yeah, I have a feeling Roxanne's not winning this title back anytime soon. I don't think Indy Hartwell's making it to Lowell, Massachusetts as champion. I again think Indy Hartwell's another one of the NXT talent that is going to be drafted come the draft. And I think she's headed to wherever the way are going.
I hope so.
You just want Index back together again, don't you?
No, I just want her with Candace. Candace not doing much anyway. Just put them together. They belong together. Come on. That's all I want.
Barry thinks Tiffany is going to win 100%. Dar Amazing thinks that Indy might retain. All right. Well, we got some people in the chat back and forth. That's always a good thing. Well, we got Braun Breaker versus Andre Chase.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, Braun Breaker.
Braun.
All right.
That was easy enough.
We'll give the chat a few seconds here to go ahead and catch up and give us their thoughts on what they think this match is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and pull something in that I was just sent on the Slack. So we're talking about the draft show that we're going to be doing in the near future next Monday night. I have been sent an early graphic that I'm going to be able to show off to you guys.
Yeah.
Enterprise NXT.
Black and yellow.
Yes, the black and yellow is back. Here we go. We got Braun Breaker. We've got Braun Breaker 100%. Yeah. It wasn't going to be much of a choice there. It was going to be Braun Breaker.
We love Andre, but no.
Lyra Valkyria versus Cora Jade.
I'm going with Cora.
Cora Jade. Absolutely 1000% Cora Jade.
The mean girl strikes again.
You don't bring her back and then have her lose.
Yep.
You don't have her being the savior of NXT. By the way, is it just me who finds it absolutely hysterical that she's the savior of NXT, that she's the superhero, yet on her chest is literally written, "Starve the ego"?
I think it just reminds me of her mother, internet mother, AJ Lee.
Yeah. Barry Monkey says Cora. Dar Amazing says Cora. Barry says, no other results. Still have to watch. You know what? Just because things are predictable doesn't mean they're bad. Some of these matches, by the way, Andre Chase versus Braun Breaker is going to be immensely entertaining for the most predictable match in that card. Like, I know that match is... Well, I won't say it's a guarantee that Andre Chase loses. Because I think there's a chance that Duke Hudson does some shenanigans. Yeah. And Braun Breaker loses that match. By the way, I also think Braun Breaker is heading up to the main roster. That man's had so many call-ups turned away at the last minute. I really hope they just bring him up to the main roster. Speaking of people who belong on the main roster, none of these people do. We have Kiana James and Brooks Jensen versus Fallon Henley and Josh Briggs in a mixed tag match. Can I choose nobody? Is there a nobody option? Can I choose that they all just collapse in the ring?
Can I just say, I hope they keep that render for Fallon because they keep changing hers. And she looks so nice in that one. The other one looks so old. She looks so pretty there. Keep that one.
My question is, in this render, where did Brooks get the mustache? Like, this is a render. It's a relatively new render, I think. Where did Brooks's mustache come from?
I think I want to do Fallon and Josh.
I'm with Barry Monkey. Who cares? Dar Amazing says, I don't know. I might kick James and Jensen. I am going to also go, shockingly, with Kiana James and Jensen. Just because Mr. Brooks is so fantastic. We have Barry Monkey saying, for the storyline, James and Jensen. And Dar Amazing says, but I think I might skip that match. You know what? All talent, all wrestling talent deserves to have their shows watched. The only way they can get better is by performing in front of crowds and the crowds telling them what works and what doesn't. These are entertaining people trying to do something. Whether I like their storyline or not, these are entertaining and somewhat talented wrestling people who need more development to be better wrestling talent people.
No, it's like as Nathan said, we're all quality here. We all belong here.
I refuse to call them all quality. They're talented wrestling people. We have the trunk match between Pretty Deadly and the family of Tony D'Angelo and... Now, again, I hate this because they keep going back and forth. On here, it's just Stacks. But I guarantee you when he's announced next week, it is going to be Channing Stacks Lorenzo. Again. I'm taking the family.
Me too.
Bassett, we want to thank you. Thank you for joining us. We want to thank you for helping out and giving us a shout out with your friend. It was greatly appreciated. We wholeheartedly appreciate it. All the fine work that you do and all the shows that you jump in for. So thank you. For those of you who don't know Basser, he is in a lot of our shows. Busting Out every week, he's there. Turnbuckle Talk, most weeks he's there. Raw Watch Along, he's almost always there. Ring Respect Radio, he's very often there. He is a very wonderful friend of ours, and we greatly appreciate him jumping in for NXT. For taking over, I should say. It's Dar Amazing's fault. He called it NXT earlier, and I got it in my head. So is a trunk match like a casket type match? No, the trunk match is going to be more like an ambulance match. Tony D'Angelo basically said they're going to have a car at ringside, and they have to shove the other team in the trunk and close it. And then they're going to go drive them off a bridge or something.
So like a casket match.
Barry says Tony in the other one.
And the other one.
Which makes a whole lot of sense. And then Tony D'Angelo and Stacks. And Barry replies to Basser's... Basser's evening, folks, with a morning. Because for Barry, it's way too bloody early in the morning. And we thank Barry every week for being kind enough to join us so early in the morning. Yeah. But we've had fun. We've talked about matches. This may be predictable, but it is going to steal the show and be a headline match that can possibly also main event Battleground. It is NXT Spring Breakin's main event of Carmelo Hayes versus Grayson Waller. Mm-hmm. Carmelo Hayes wins this one. There's no chance he loses this title heading into his hometown. This man is from the Boston area. He's wrestled in Lowell for years. He's won championships in this area, in much smaller venues in this town. He is a local hero. He's not Joe Hendry, the local hero, but he's Carmelo Hayes, my local hero. And I'm going to be so excited to see him coming home with that championship around his waist. Carmelo Hayes for the win. Astrid.
Yeah, I got Carmelo. What are you looking at me for?
Barry Monkey says Carmelo. And Dar Amazing says, no, wait, it's like a last ride match. No. Thankfully, there'll be no more of those after we killed off Muhammad Hassan in that. He also jumps in and says mellow. And that, my friends, has been NXT taking over. We have our special edition of Spring Breakin next week. And I'm going to give you all a little sneak peek at next week's thumbnail. We got Taken Over Spring Breakin! I was busy this morning. But, well, actually it was yesterday. But for me, Ol'Ed and Fries. For the natural, at Astrid Pizarro. That makes it point like I'm pointing to you. Thank you for joining us. We've had a great show. We will see you all next week. Remember again to join us for all of our wonderful shows. Astrid on Thursday, me next Monday night as we go ahead and draft. The draft show is going to be a ton of fun. I've got two great friends. Astrid's got her great friend Cody. This is going to be a fun week of wrestling, people. We've had a lot of fun. We're going to continue to have fun. Just keep wrestling fun. Bye!
Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around.